Hey, this is Movies, a podcast about the act of cinema. And this is season 7 of movies. My God, season 7, 7 seasons, and it's been 4 years of movies. We typically like to do 2 seasons a year. We like to break it up. Last season was the most amount of episodes per season. We had 55, I believe the number was. We concluded with Elvis by the master auteur Baz Luhrmann. And that was a very exciting episode. We had the most number of guests we've ever had in the history of movies on this show. Proper movies, anyway, not crossovers with Flea Pit After Dark or the now deceased Slothcast, hosted by Anthony Sisko. We'll see if that actually stays dead. Some people just can't seem to keep away from the internet, when they say, I'm done with the internet. But we'll see. It would be nice. It would be nice to see that return. So, with me today, to discuss these things and more, is Hans.
Yeah. It's very difficult to be done with the internet when you spend a lot of time on the internet.
That's very true. Could you quit? Could you quit the internet? How long could you quit the internet for?
Well, I didn't have Twitter for like 6-7 months, remember, when it was banned? And then you got me a different email so that I could so that I could have the account that I currently have. So it's I think I could. It's just I don't know.
Why would you? What's the point of that? What's going to be the net gain aside from mental health improvement? What about successes? What about creative ventures? You lose all of that for mental health. Yeah, go spend time in the trees. You'll be happier, maybe. Probably less fulfilled, though. So,
right.
We're not talking about...
happy. Why would you want to be happy in nature instead of reading a bunch of retarded people arguing about things that don't affect them on Twitter?
Exactly.
That's the way.
You think about nature. You think about people who spend too much time in nature. You think about Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. That turned out so well for him. Now he's living in a cage the rest of his life, dying, rotten of cancer. So you know what? Maybe there's something to be said about spending your days on Twitter.
Well, you could also do the Into the Wild method too, right? Where you go into the wild without knowing anything, and then you die because you eat some type of herb that you're not supposed to, or berries, and then you just poison it in the middle of the woods like a dumbass.
I think that's a good way to go too. Is from stomach pains, just writhing in the dirt, waiting to pass away as your gut bleeds out.
How long do you have to? Like, how long does it take for you to die that way? I can imagine it would fast, Because a gunshot to the stomach, you can survive, right? For hours.
Yes.
And that's Dr. Hans speaking. That knows nothing about if this is true or not. But I can't imagine that a poisoning would, be fast. It just sounds like it would just stretch for as long as possible and just hurt a lot. So,
well, who do we know? Who's a famous person who has died from poisoning? Aside from that guy you just cited.
What year is it? I don't think that happens anymore.
Well,
you're a child.
Yeah, the little girl from The Sixth Sense, whose mother kept poisoning her because she enjoyed her being sick because it made her feel better that she could help her daughter. There's a lot of cases like that. That's like a month-long journey, and at no point you have to have second thoughts about that and pouring the Drano in the tomato soup.
Was it Drano or was it like floor cleaner?
It was floor cleaner, yeah, of course. If it was Drano, you'd be sent to prison immediately because that child would get violently ill and survive, and the doctor would be like,
right,
we got to call the police on this woman. By the way...
I mean, also, how stupid is that child that she couldn't taste the floor cleaner in her soup? It's on her.
Listen, once upon a time, I used to like to fake being sick so I could get out of middle school and high school, okay? And my aunt is an older woman. She's always been an older woman. And, one day, a good, reliable excuse used to be, oh, my stomach hurts. My stomach, I can't go to school. My stomach hurts. And so one day I tried that too many times. And so my aunt, again, who's this elderly woman, decided to say, hey, would you like some hot chocolate before you go to school today? I said, boy, would I ever. And then she handed me this hot chocolate, and there was this orange foam on the top of it. I said, what the hell is this orange foam on my hot chocolate? And she said, oh, it's nothing. It's just hot chocolate. And I gave it a sniff. It turned out she snuck Metamucil in the hot chocolate so I would be more regular. So she thought she was going to trick me and I'd feel better and go to school. I said, what are you, fucking stupid? What is this? I poured it down the drain immediately. Smashed that mug against the wall.
She thought you were, what's the word? Constipated. She thought you
Yes.
were constipated. Your stomach pain was because you couldn't shit. That's really funny.
Yes.
And what is it? An orange chocolate, a hot chocolate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Metamucil is like an orange vitamin C flavored, whatever it is. It's an orange powder. And she thought she was pulling the wool over my eyes because she's senile, and that was fucking 15 years ago. So,
I used
one
to.
thing to be
Okay.
said though, is this is season 7 of movies. It's an exciting time. We're in the middle of 2022. It's July 5th, 2022. There's fireworks still going off outside my apartment building right now. I don't know if you guys can hear those from time to time, but something that's going to be introduced here, and Hans kind of got into it a little bit for season 7 of movies, is there are going to be more characters. So as you noted, there's a Dr. Hans now. Now, Dr. Hans is going to be a recurring bit on this show. It's gonna be like the Johnny Carson show. When he would do the Kreskin character. But it's all going to be Hans. I'm not going to do any of it. It's just going to be Hans introducing a new character every episode. So this one was Dr. Hans. In
Yeah.
about 14 episodes, he's going to show up in a lab coat.
Yeah. I'm gonna wear a rice hat, and I'm gonna wear those glasses that will make my eyes look more Chinese.
Yes.
I used to fake having asthma to get out of PE because I was fat and I just didn't want to run. They would have us run the length of a soccer field for like 5 times, and I would run half of it and just be like, my asthma, I can't. I've never had asthma. I've never had
Oh.
lung issues at all. But I would pretend, and because I was fat, they would just be like, okay, just lay down, you're fine.
Just lay down, tubby boy.
Yep.
Just breathe. You're going to
Yep.
lay on your back and take deep breaths. See, that requires too much acting because then you got to be like, you make pig noises to
I
try and
didn't
fool
know.
the
I
PE
didn't know what
teacher.
I didn't know. Do you really think I knew what asthma was at the time? I just knew there was something to do with breathing. I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing. But yeah. I did the same thing, trying to get out of fucking shitty ass school.
Well,
Never liked it.
it probably could have benefited you either way. Show up to school and gym class.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? These are the kinds of mistakes that children make. And when you think about children, how often do you think about children, Hans?
Never, never. What the fuck? What kind of question? Just because I'm wearing a sweater doesn't mean I'm. Wait, Cosby didn't rape children. Never mind.
No, he didn't touch any children. He's a decent man in that regard. I was just thinking about children in television shows like Stranger Things season 4, which just concluded a couple of days ago, and we have not talked about any season of Stranger Things, and it kind of makes me think, well, now do we have to do? Because we're going to talk about season 4 of Stranger Things tonight. Because why not strike while the iron is hot? The Elvis episode seems to be faring well. People really enjoyed that when we did a live show. Let's do some more. Let's do some more of these current releases as opposed to digging into Spike Lee's filmography and doing The Sweet Blood of Jesus. So we're talking about Stranger Things season 4 tonight. And what do you think? Do you think we should go back in time and do 3 and 2 and 1?
I think the reason why we haven't talked about this, I don't know if you watched it as it was coming out, but I had only seen season 1 and like a couple of episodes of season 2, and I just stopped watching it. So I was completely, unaware of everything that happened up to this season. And then you said that it got good. So you said it's probably the most amazing show I've seen in the past 20 years. It's incredible. You said the acting was amazing and the writing and dialogue was out of this world.
I did say all that.
So-
I was very enthralled. Listen, I just spilled an entire can of Diet Coke all over the floor here, so we're just going to take a quick pause. I'm not even going to let you riff by yourself. We're just going to have to, hey, we'll be back after these messages. So, like I was saying before, we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 4 tonight, and just to answer your question, which I didn't touch upon, I did watch every single season as it was airing, yes.
Okay. Because yeah, I was very behind, but then I don't know. I guess there's not really a lot of content out there that I'm really interested in, so I just started watching it, and I figured I did the same thing that I did with those Harry Potter movies, where it's like I haven't seen any of them. I think I only saw the first one. And then when the last one was coming out, I was like, well, I have to see it because it's gonna end, and it's like a cultural thing. So let me just watch all of them, and that way I'll be able to go see the last one in the theater. In this case, I was fooled into believing that this was the last season. And well, before we get into it, it's going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't finished it, then stop this and go watch it. But I thought this was going to be an end. It made more sense that the last two episodes were 4 hours together if this is how you were going to end the series.
Hmm.
And I didn't know that there's going to be more. So when I was watching it, I was like, hold on, there's like 10 minutes left and nothing has been resolved. What the fuck is this? And then nothing happens. And I was like, oh, I I don't think I would have watched the whole thing if I knew that they had an ending, you know?
I had the same game plan when it came to Breaking Bad when that was airing. I planned to watch all of it once it was in the final season and then watch that play out live. And then they broke the final season up in two. So with this one, similarly, I was convinced this was the last run for the show because I had heard that somewhere, or I thought I did. And it turns out that's not the case. They're going to do season five. And maybe the fact that they divided it kind of pointlessly, in my opinion anyway,
Yeah.
into two parts did not really help, squash that notion that this would be the end of it, because why else would you do that?
Right.
And again, to the pointlessness of it, not a whole lot really happens in those last couple of episodes. And it's about three, I mean, 3 hours almost for that final episode. It's almost 2 hours for the one right before that. I think it's an hour 45 and
Yeah.
2:35 respectively. Why? It doesn't even make sense. It's dividing it into two parts. It feels like an afterthought, really.
Exactly. Yeah, like they had planned on ending it, but then they were like, well, we're not going to kill the most popular show that we have while the rest of the shows are failing, so let's stretch it one more. I have no idea, or I had no idea what they were going to do with the last season because I figured, well, if you have two last episodes that are so long, I'm sure something will happen with this Vecna guy, and kind of, but not really, until the end, I guess.
Well, what do?
Uh,
They retcon it so that Vecna has been this giant mastermind the entire
yeah,
time, right? Who willed these monsters into the non upside down world of Stranger Things. So we're getting maybe a little ahead of ourselves in that we're talking about the finale first because that's what's
yeah,
freshest on our minds. It did only release onto Netflix a couple of days ago. So why don't we wind it back to episode one of
okay,
season four? And I watched it when it premiered in the middle of the night. I think they like to do a West Coast midnight premiere, which is 3 a.m. on the East Coast. And I'm always up that late. So I decided to check it out. And, I was not really big on the last two seasons of Stranger Things. I really disliked season two. They had me for a while, and then everybody's go to episode in that season where they jumped out was when 11 went
yeah,
to Chicago and befriended an Indian girl. You know, that fucking
yeah,
sucked. And it seems like it's never going to come back around ever again, which is good. It shouldn't. But it just makes it all the
yeah.
more notable in how redundant doing that was. They bit off a little too much, too much than they could chew. So
They wanted to do the Avengers, but no one cared.
that's what this
Everyone was
finale felt
trying.
like. That's what this finale felt like to me. It felt like this is our Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. And they were stretched out, elongated, inflated, and for what? For one character to die, and they couldn't really commit to killing the redheaded girl, who nobody
Yeah,
really seems to like. But again,
or Hooper too.
yeah,
Hooper. Is it
Hopper,
Hooper or Hopper? Hopper, yeah.
Hopper.
Who I think his heroic sacrifice would have been fine the way he died, right? That would have been okay. Well, we got rid of this character, but like you said, it goes back to the Marvel thing where they're just so afraid of killing anyone that then it never feels like they're in actual danger. When the redhead girl, when it happened, when she was actually like her arms were broken and her leg was broken, I was like, all right, well, we're killing someone. That's cool. Finally, they have enough balls to kill one of the main characters. Because the one that ended up killing, who was my favorite, by the way, I thought he was the best character they've introduced for a while. And then they just kill him in like the stupidest way because he wanted to prove to no one, because there's no one around, that he doesn't run away anymore. The one time where he has to run away, and then he just turns around to fight 1,000
Bats.
with
Dead by
yeah
bat.
yeah, and that was really stupid. I thought that was really dumb because he's so he would run away from humans, but when it comes to monsters, he wants to show the world that he's an actual hero, even though the world would never know and there's no one around. That didn't really sit well sit well with me at all. You couldn't think of any other way to kill this guy. No, you just make him like want to, I don't know, prove something that yeah, only his uncle knew at the end when Goofy Teeth told him.
Yeah. And look, there's nothing heroic about dying from a bat.
Yeah.
There's plenty of
He
people in
got
Africa
chewed.
and South America who die from bats, and nobody thinks
Yeah,
about
yeah,
them.
yeah. He
Sorry.
got some chewing on his belly, and somehow that killed him. But
Yeah.
the girl that had a fucking her leg and she's blind now, but no, fucking Eleven did her Mr. Miyagi thing where she just touched her and heal her somehow. I'd never seen it before for the first
Never
like
once
4 seasons.
happened. Right. And
Yeah.
now she's got the magic touch. So, look, you might be a blind cripple, but you're alive in a coma forever.
Well, that's a much better life, you know. You're gonna be blind. You have scary eyes now. Your legs and arms are fucked up, but hey, you'll be around. Isn't that great?
So,
Yeah,
my thought on that is they're probably. I think they're going to utilize her as like a harvesting tool for Vecna to come back into the regular world, which seems to be turning into the Upside Down at the end of Stranger Things season 4.
right.
That because why else would you leave a completely useless character alive like that? Unless you just felt bad. What are we gonna have a fucking Anne Frank side story for season 5 where she's gonna learn Braille and all this other stuff? Great. I did read that.
I think you mean Helen Keller, not Anne Frank. Anne
All
Frank
right,
was
Anne
just a
Frank was
Jewish
just
girl.
Jewish, right? Damn, I'm retarded. But listen, season 4, we're introduced to this new character. I think his name's Eddie, right?
Eddie, yeah.
Eddie's your favorite. He's the fan favorite character of the season. And Stranger Things likes to do this thing where they just introduce a new person to kill off. In this season, it was Eddie. Last season, it was the guy from Elvis, asshole older brother of the girl who they pussied out on killing this season. The season before that, it was Sean Astin, who played, what was his name?
Bob.
Fat Piggy? Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, and then the season before that, it was Barb.
Right. Who cares? It's just characters that are barely on screen or who expect to have some type of connection. I hated the fact that the whole thing that Max had in the last season was that she feels bad about her brother dying. She could have done more. And it's like, no, you couldn't. It was a gigantic monster in front of him, ripping him to pieces. What could you have done? And the whole thing, or the only reason why she gets possessed by Vecna is because she feels bad about her brother. She could have done more. That doesn't, like, this feels like
And
a cop out. Like
boy, did Vecna take his sweet time killing her each time.
Yeah.
Unlike everyone else, where it's just you're gonna float up and then you're done. Nah, I'm gonna drag this out. Not, I should have learned from the first time when it got intercepted, but I'm gonna just take my time again and let someone spoil all the fun, which is exactly what happens.
So you can have Lucas dramatically reacting to it and very sweaty. Oh, by the way, the jocks, why? That was just a useless group of characters that did absolutely nothing the whole thing. Just an obstacle that was completely unnecessary for these characters. Because what did he do? He had a fight with him at the end, and a large jock couldn't hold down a little girl. That's threatening. That's a great villain. That's completely necessary in this story. And then I guess it was very convenient too, which when Lucas and that guy started fighting and he just stepped on the Walkman, I was like, of course, because the one thing that could bring her back, this guy shouldn't even be here, that now has a gun, and even though he's seen people dying the same way, he's still like, no, Eddie did this.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like, what's the point of that group even? When I don't feel like that was an element that didn't work for me at all, and every time they were on screen, it was kind of like a drag for me.
Well, they needed two things. They needed someone else to die, and that guy gets melted right up the middle, and they gloss over that. and they also needed Lucas to be a more relevant character because everyone. Actually, the only one who doesn't really have anything to do is I don't know why I'm having a hard time remembering probably the most memorable of the four characters' names. The dude with the fucked up mouth. What is his character's
Oh,
name?
uh, oh wow. Oh, what the fuck?
I
I
think
don't
his
know.
name's like Punchy. So Punchy doesn't have anything to do at all in Stranger Things season 4. Lucas has something to do, and who cares about it? Oh wow, now he's sad that his girlfriend that doesn't like him because it's 1987. You don't like people of other races back then because then that's a
Right.
problem socially. She's not into him, and then you have Will, and Will is a little confused gay boy who's just sitting in a van the whole time crying the entire season. He's just stressed out, hyperventilating in a van in the backseat of a van. And then Mike is just this clueless dunce who's obsessed with pussy, trying to get pussy the whole time from his
Yeah.
stupid girlfriend. You know. And he doesn't care. He can't tell his best friend is gay for him and crying
Yeah.
and sobbing right next to him. He's thinking about 11. So you have all that, and then 11's story is really the only story, and they resurrect Matthew Modine's character. I could have sworn this guy died in the first season, right?
Who said that?
Papa.
Yeah. I don't remember. I don't know.
Damn, I
First
wish we
season
had a soundboard with the
so
German
long.
guy who says "paw paw" from Angst right now. They should have her say it like that. Yeah, so he comes back, and if I'm remembering correct, maybe I'm misremembering. I haven't seen season 1 of Stranger Things since early 2017. I believe they kill off that Matthew Modine character.
Hmm. Well, they brought him back, and that was another thing that felt useless by the end of it. Because sure, so we learned the story of what actually happened, which was that Eleven didn't kill everyone like she thought she did. It was
Hmm.
his son. Was it his son? He was his son, right?
No, it wasn't his
The
son.
Vecna guy.
No, no, no. Here's the
That's
story.
the kid. That's the kid from the 50s that killed his entire family, right? In the
Hmm.
first one.
Well, what it was one number one, who has like a formal name like Brian or something, uh, is the most powerful psychic. So Papa was trying to do a bunch of offshoots of that guy, and I guess kept failing. 11 was maybe the closest thing to that, and
Robert England plays his dad in jail, right? The one when
yes.
he poked his eyes out. Right, right.
Right. So then you get the backstory in that last or penultimate episode, which tells you that this guy who has been sort of a personal mentor to 11 in this facility is actually the reason why everything fell apart. And she blew him to shreds and sent him to the Upside Down, where he got reformed into some burnt up monster creature. Now, I would have just had it so that, because you see him blow up Dr. Manhattan, it was very Zack Snyder's Watchmen influence to the point where I think they even used the same music from the Dr. Manhattan scene, which is, I think, who is that conductor? Damn. Name's not coming to mind at the moment, but they used the same exact track. Uh,
Okay.
and what I noticed in this finale that I also noticed earlier in the season is that the writing, but especially the dialogue writing, is atrocious. It's so on the nose. And I think maybe that's partially intentional, or maybe it wasn't at one point and it is now. Like they just realized, hey, this is all very obvious dialogue to say, and it doesn't sound good coming out of some people. Like that the guy who plays one isn't a bad actor. I kind of like his menacing tone, but some of the
Right.
dialogue's just so unnecessary. Like arachnids are the gods of this world. It's like shut up,
It's
you
like we get it. He's a villain.
yeah,
All
he's a
right.
crazy guy. He's the bad guy. Okay, a lot of that could have been cut out, and I don't know. We just lost the plot and went right back to the finale there.
Yeah. I just
Eddie.
it's like what's fresh. Yeah. Yeah.
Eddie's introduced in that inaugural episode, and I watched that first episode late at night, and I thought, wow, this was really enjoyable. I miss Stranger Things. Stranger Things is summertime. Summertime's fun. It's been a miserable 2 years. This is good. It's good to have something back. And this is around the same time people are like, cinema's back because of Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick. The movies are back. And you know what? The movies kind of are back now. Maybe it's half because of that. I don't know. But I think Stranger Things being like this big pop culture thing that people look forward to, and it meeting a certain degree of quality is generally a good thing. Now, whether or not this whole season sticks to landing, I think is debatable.
Yeah, I I think the first, what is it, 6 episodes, right?
No, I
First
think they
six
do
episodes.
8 episodes, and then 9 and 10 dropped
Okay.
July 1st.
So the first eight, I was intrigued because I thought, again, I thought it was going to end. So I thought it was a good cliffhanger to leave an ending for. Uh, I now that I think about it, those episodes, I don't know how well it works compared to the others, but I think after 2 and 3, which were kind of, two was not great, and then three was a little better, but not great either. Uh, I because I watched them recently, like I watched them back to back, so I like the fourth one better. It is better than those two, so maybe my judgment was a little uh, clouded there, but um, those just those 2 episodes at the end just felt like we're trying to stretch this for as much as we can, but we're not going to give you an ending. We're not going to give you a resolution, and they didn't. And then their resolution was, hey, this happened, and now the world is turning into the upside down slowly, I guess. But here are your heroes, and they're gonna face it. Isn't it cool that there's 10 of them now? And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I just watched 2.5 hours of this shit to get nothing."
Hmm.
I was a little upset. It was late too, so I was just like, "Fuck!" I just stayed up to watch this shit, and it didn't give me an ending. Then and, and that's why I said that it's possible that they just saw that their most popular property was going to end, and what do they have coming that would incite the same type of excitement that this series has? Name a Netflix production that anyone is looking forward to.
There isn't one. There's nothing. Now, they do have another series that's in development that they're plotting right now that they hinted at actually in Stranger Things, which is The Talisman. I believe it's The Talisman by Stephen King, and maybe it was co-written by Peter Straub, who's another commercial novelist. But that is not going to have the same fire beneath it that Stranger
No.
Things has, and they certainly realize that. Now, I I was on board with the first half of the season. I liked the Nightmare on Elm Street cribbing. They really leaned into that, and it seemed like maybe they were going in one direction and then subverted when they were midway through writing the episodes of the season. That's kind of how it feels. Where it's like, oh, we're literally just borrowing from. We have Robert England here just to say, hey, yeah, we know it's obvious here. This is an entirely intentional homage. And I didn't mind that. I like the fact that they had a good practical effects villain, finally, because they had all these creature designs that I was never really a fan of. They always looked not not complete or something, or not properly designed, just not a real functional monster, you
Right.
know? Certainly the case with the Demogorgon in season one, and then whatever that follow up monster was in season two that kind of felt like an offshoot of that. Like when Cloverfield came out, and then J.J. Abrams did Super 8 and did a duplicate of the Cloverfield monster with a few tweaks. So there was that aspect, and then I couldn't even tell you what was the villain for season three. Was it just the Russians?
Wasn't it? Was the giant spider? Was that two?
It was two.
No, it was
Yeah.
three.
And no, no, no. In season two, Will is looking in the mirror, right, and he lapses back into the upside down, and there's the giant spider. It was the Demogorgon that gets let loose in season one.
Right. Who does she kill in season three? Because she gets rid of one of them in each season, right?
Yeah.
Fuck. And I just saw it, and I can't remember how that ends.
There's the whole big climactic battle that happens in that last episode where they lead you much like the Max thing. They wanted, or seemingly wanted, they knew that they had to kill off Hopper at that point, and then they pulled back on it, and that's why you get this ridiculous subplot of him in Russia, where
Can we talk about
yeah,
that a little bit?
go ahead.
Because he's a small town fat cop, and he's surviving Russian prison in the 80s,
Hmm.
eating like stale bread and whatever sludge they feed him. And he's able to not only escape jail once, but then get back in, and then escape again. And he's like, this is just a fat, small town. I mean, I understand that he was like a Marine or something, right? But some of the things he was doing, I was like, that's fucking John Wick. Like, I feel like they went a little bit overboard with how much of a competent, I guess, Marine, let's call him, he is. Because before he went to Russia or whatever, I mean, fine, he punched a couple of people, and he's like a big guy, so that makes sense. But then everything that happens since then, like he survives that explosion, and then he's taken to Russia, and he's able to survive. He fucking breaks his ankle, or seems like he breaks his ankle, so he can get away, and then he's perfectly fine within like a day. That was a sticking point for me. I also hated his relationship with Winona, because that was fucking annoying, and it felt like it was just dragging the show, because like we know they're gonna end up together. Why are you playing so much with the oh, but we're like a couple, so we fight a lot, but we're not a couple. Like that happened so much that it was just like fucking enough. Like that and the with the Murray character too, where it's just like we don't need so many scenes of them not agreeing on something. You know, it's fine. We get it. They have a sexual tension between them. Okay, and then it took them what, the whole season for them to kiss, right until the last episode. So yeah, I know that everyone loves that character, but it was just like if he died, like I don't think anything would have changed for the worst.
No, you might have had more time to develop this whole Vecna plot that intersects with 11, and then given the kids something better to do. And you know what? I have to say, even in spite of the nuisance that his subplot was, and this isn't really a slight at well, I guess it is. You know, the acting of these teenagers now is inferior to when they were younger, and it feels like so forced at points. Their interactions and just like unfolding their storylines respectively, compared to the Hopper plot with Winona Ryder and the most obnoxious character on the show, Brett Gelman, who just violently sucks the energy out of every scene that he's in because he has to make it about himself. And I didn't care about that. So I don't know. I do think there's. Go ahead.
It's also pointless too, because okay, so we have discovered that the Russians are cloning the what is Demogorgon?
Demogorgon.
Is that what that's called?
Yes.
Sure. So they're cloning it, and they're also making like dogs out of that, because they kind of there's one big one, and then there's a bunch of little ones, and they're all in tanks. And holy shit, this might get set free into the world and kill everyone. And then they just kill them all. So nothing happens. So there's no threat, and it was completely pointless coming back because they just killed them in one episode. So what was the point of that whole thing? Just go back. Who cares, you know? And then the whole flamethrower thing, and then he had a sword, and he had to fight the thing with a sword. It was just like, what are we watching? Like, why are we focusing on this when, the real, or what's supposed to be the real threat is on the other side of the world, not being affected by this? And I know that supposedly by them killing that, they were hurting the Vecna character, but that didn't really do shit. Like, that didn't really affect anything. So that just felt like such an unnecessary plot. Maybe they just wanted to have something to do with fucking Brett Gelman, which is enraging, because you don't really need that much of him. But yeah, that whole Russia thing just felt very pointless, and very much like a Marvel thing where, well, these characters are liked by the audience, so we're not going to kill them, and we're going to give them an unnecessary plot that doesn't really move anything forward, so that they can have a happy reunion with the children later. And
Boy,
just didn't work for me.
they love invoking Russia as just an ominous bad guy, a lingering bad guy in the background between this and Top Gun. Why couldn't you kill Brett Gelman? Why couldn't you kill some of these Russians who are almost equally annoying to Brett Gelman? Why not kill Will? Why not kill the creepy Nancy's boyfriend who just also has nothing to do and looks like a fucking skinny Brian Peppers, disgusting Brian Peppers. I don't know. I'm sick of a lot of these people. They gotta go, and I know that they're gonna let them live. Because here's the thing: when you get to that final season, and they are gonna do a time jump. I've read. I don't know if there's any legitimacy to that. Season 5 is gonna pick up in the 1990s, so you're gonna have maybe 10 years separate, at least 5 years, right? Because I think this one is 85 or 86, maybe 87.
86. Yeah.
86. Okay. So you're talking at the bare minimum 4 years. You can kill everybody. You can kill all these characters and more. How many of them are really even going to hang around Hawkins with that dirty cloud and the fucking particles floating around the air? It's like gradually going to turn into the Upside Down. They're not going to, So kill them.
They have to save their town. They love their town. Don't you get it? They love it so much. It's where they grew up.
It's where they grew up.
The story they were heartbroken, even though they were bullied by everyone because they were dorks. But no, they love their high school and they love their town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when they do have that opportunity, the Duffers, to kill any single one of these kids without the consequence of, well, it could hurt the next season, they're gonna feel bad and they're gonna be like, no, I like this actor, I like this character. They're gonna get sentimental and everybody's gonna live. You're gonna have like one death. And it'll be Hopper maybe, and he'll die a hero probably, and that'll be it.
The stoner guy. What's his name? That guy with long hair.
Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael.
And you're gonna be like, oh, they killed this guy. That's sad.
Actually, you know who's gonna die in the next season is they're gonna bring in Corey Feldman as a new character, and he's gonna be part of the group for the whole season. And then
he's gonna play child. He's gonna play his character from the Goonies.
Yeah,
he's all wrinkly and shit.
He's gonna play a college professor at Will's new school, and then he's gonna sacrifice himself for the children, and everybody's gonna be sad and shocked, stunned when he dies. That's how that's gonna go.
What is Will's role in this series other than being secretly gay and then just feeling the back of his neck when something happens?
That's a good question. Right? To see how big his mushroom haircut can get by the time he's 40.
That's how you know he's gay, right? Because his hair is fucked up. Somehow that doesn't make much sense.
No, but if you wait, hold on. If they do pick up in the 90s and it's like 1995 and he still has that haircut, that's going to be in. That's going to make sense. That's going to be the Jonathan Taylor Thomas. It's going to work for him.
Yeah, that it's just also weird because exactly what you said. They don't seem to be as good of actors as they were when they were children, and it's possible that because I guess only Finn Wolfhard is the only one that kind of has a career outside of this. The guy from Spree, I don't remember his name. Joe Carey, is it?
Joe Carey, yeah.
Joe Carey had that movie, but then I don't know how what other things he's done. But he just, I don't know. It feels like they were forced to act in this now that they're teens and they're all gangly and weird and they're going through that awkward phase where their nose is too big or like their jaw, like their face just hasn't grown into the size of their head, so they're just awkward looking, and also just the friendship that you could tell they had, or at least that they were portraying when they were children, it just doesn't feel as natural anymore, and that's kind of weird to say because it's not, you think that in season 1 when they're still trying to figure out their relationships and their chemistry would be rougher, but for whatever reason it just feels like they're not like together as well as before. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, I think that's absolutely correct, because you got to think about it. When they were younger and doing season 1 of the show, or maybe even season 2, they were nobodies. First of all, they were a lot younger, so it's probably easier for them to get along with one another. And you're dealing with actors who are your own age. It's probably a lot more fun
Yeah.
than having to act alongside some 48-year-old man who's got some fucking weird issues and has a method to his acting. He's very stern. It's probably a lot less fun to act with David Harbour, is what I'm saying here, or
Right.
drunky, a wino Winona Ryder. So they
But
probably had
Jim
that going
Carrey's
on.
like 31. I think he's in his 30 already, which is
Sure,
weird.
I'm not really talking about the older teenage actors
Right.
like him, and I think her name is Natalie Dyer, and old creepo Charlie Heaton, who gets arrested at airports for intoxication.
Which one's Charlie Heaton?
Brother
Oh, right.
Jonathan
Wait,
Byers. That name doesn't sound familiar.
oh.
Okay. Anyway,
Right, the brother that realized his brother was gay, and then he was like, "Hey, if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me, you know."
yeah.
And
If you
then
want
he
to
hugged him,
cry
and
in
it's
my lap, I'll bounce you up and down like Santa Claus. Then that's all right.
okay. I know that all you want to do is suck. I was gonna say Will.
Mike's dick.
Mike's dick, but hey, how about
Mike's
your
hard
brother?
dick.
Mike's awkwardly and doesn't know why it's hard dick because they're too young. They just have sexual tension that they cannot understand. Yeah, that guy. They could have killed him too.
Hmm.
Who cares about that guy?
Especially since he's
The,
gonna dump the Nancy character anyway. What's the
right.
point? Why do you need him in the picture to debate whether or not he's gonna go to college or if he's gonna go and be with her or do whatever he's gonna do? Get rid of him. Kill. I just keep coming back to killing Will. Kill Will. Just end it already. Look, you're gonna have the gay plot. You're already kind of doing that. You don't need to like fulfill it all the way because there's nothing interesting that's gonna come of that.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe, unless he's like dating a 50-year-old man when he goes off to college and just have it be like for real.
Who would you
Um,
cast as that man?
Probably just have it be the Paul Reiser character. Mad About You's Paul Reiser is
No, no,
Will
no.
Sugar
It has
Daddy.
to be. It has to be someone from the '80s. So like
No, no,
Richard
no.
Pryor.
Well,
They're gonna bring that from
Richard Pryor. Well, again, if we're picking up in the '90s, right? So they're going to be
Oh,
early
fuck.
'20s. You got to go with you got to go with '90s culture. You're going to get the
Well,
'90s
that's
season of Stranger
Feldman.
Things.
That's the
Well,
Feldman character.
Feldman was
Would
more
you?
80s. Feldman did
He
have
would have.
a short life in the early 90s, but he was kind of out. So you got to think primo 1990s. Uh, Tim
Bob
Allen,
Saget. Oh wait.
Bob Zard, he's
Right.
got Dave Coulier, John Stamos. Man, do you think
Right.
John Stamos has like that Adam West ego to him, where he's like, "What do you mean they didn't call me for Elvis? They did an Elvis movie and they didn't call me."
Yeah. Let's cast the guy that. What's his last thing he did? Fuller House.
Fuller House,
That's
grandfathered. He impregnated a 22-year-old woman who looks disturbingly younger than him.
well, he's like 60, isn't he?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not get John Stamos. He's creepy. He. Well, he's. Yeah.
But then again, could you
uh.
imagine John Stamos dating a 70-year-old woman?
No. No. Can you imagine anyone in Hollywood other than Aaron Taylor Johnson dating a 70-year-old woman?
Well, Hugh Jackman also married old.
Oh,
All these Australians with their marriages, where they sleep in different beds on different floors. Um, I don't know. You probably have to pull a sitcom actor or somebody who was only famous in the 1990s. Who could that be?
fuck. Patton Oswalt. Gonna
No,
bring Patton
he was
Oswalt
odds.
back.
That's definitely odds. You could do
Fuck.
Michael
Oh
Richards.
yeah.
Michael Richards is the wacky professor.
Yeah, and he's very mean to Will.
Yeah.
No, not to Will. Fuck, I'm so
To
bad with
Mike.
names.
I know. I keep confusing Will and Mike too.
No, not Mike either. No, no.
Not
Lucas.
Mike. Who is it?
Who
Oh,
be-
Paul
who be
Reiser has a
Lucas?
landlord, and it's actually going to be Michael Richards. And we're going to
Yeah.
just subvert and focus on this 68-year-old man living by himself.
Ugh.
That's going to be the
Yeah.
subplot of the season: is he can't afford to feed his cat.
I don't like this 90s thing. I really like. I like the fact that it's contained into an 80s feeling or looking thing. I don't know how I feel about because it's going to be just references and just, hey, look at this Coke. Isn't the can different than last season? And it's gonna be shit like that. Where it's, hey, we have a NES. Do you want to play some Super Mario? Hey, like
Hmm.
guys,
Surge. They're gonna be drinking Surge in every single
right?
scene.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Uh,
How about David Spade? No, David Spade actually has like a career still.
yeah. He's still in Adam Sandler's movies.
They could
He
get
makes enough money on those.
they could get Rob Schneider probably real cheap.
No, he's a conservative now. You're not gonna give him a job.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Uh,
Yeah.
Dana Carvey, Kevin Nealon, just to go down the list of SNL people who haven't worked in 15 years. Um, I don't know. I'm curious to see what Stranger Things in the '90s looks like. I'm just not really anticipating that it's going to end well because it has swallowed too much of the commercial factor to the show, which is
Yeah.
huge and it's a big part of it. I don't even think it's necessarily a negative to have that aspect as part of the texture to the show. I think it's just part of it now. It's baked into it, but I do think there's a good chance that it overwhelms it because it did overwhelm seasons 2 and 3, and that season 5 does not end the series in a proper manner, and they probably have to revisit it in 7 years or whatever when everybody's 35.
Stranger Things 2000.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the CGI that they used for 11 every time they showed her as a little girl again?
I didn't mind it. I bought it. I bought it well enough anyway. I thought it looked pretty good. My eye is trained so that I can tell the difference. But I've certainly seen a whole lot worse as far as like facial mapping. And they probably had all the raw with a lot of the de aging that you see in Hollywood, like we'll cite the first real big example of this that people started talking about was Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. When Michael Douglas looked young in Ant-Man, people bought that, and people were like, "Wow, there's something crazy going on here." Which is kind of what's happening now with like the AI portraits and upscaling and all this stuff. It's like, wow, there's an AI technology that is brand new and just becoming available to us, and like people at the studios don't even really have this figured out, and it could change everything. And the
And
Michael
the
Douglas,
Irishman happened.
and then yes, and that was the end of it. So what they were drawing from, as far as Michael Douglas, a lot of the time, here's what they do. They'll either use Michael Douglas, right, for all the de aging. There was actually Michael Douglas as 11 earlier in the episodes of Stranger Things this season. And, they'll grab shots from like Wall Street or Wall Street Money Never Sleeps or,
Right.
or
These two
um,
movies.
yeah, yeah. Whatever is available in high definition, and then the AI will create a mask, and you'll get that. But they have all this footage of her from when she was actually young, which is not even that long ago. It's only like 5 or 6 years, and they probably have the raw footage still, so it looks good. Just like when they were doing Spider-Man No Way Home, even though I could tell, I was like, this is the same Sandman CG from Spider-Man 3, and they just upgraded it.
Right.
If you have those raw files available, it's going to look better. It's going to look more seamless. And so I think that was the case with this situation here. You get a younger child who's roughly the same build, and then you're just going to map her face onto that, and you're going to have a much easier time, and you're going to sell it. Did you buy it or did you not buy it?
I thought it looked weird at times just because she was so tiny, and because we never saw her that tiny.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really have that much of an issue with it. Fuck, I was gonna mention something. Oh yeah, one of the things that I really didn't like is how they tried to force bullying into this season with the whole 11 thing that moved to California, and then all of a sudden she doesn't have powers, and then everyone's just a dick to her in a very cartoonish 80s way,
Mm-hmm.
but we knew that she could just kill them all at any time.
Well,
So
I
she
thought the
went.
most unrealistic thing here was I think it was in episode 2 when they're at the roller rink and she finally fights back and makes the girl's nose bleed. And then they just sit and wait for the police to show up.
Yeah.
No, you run, you
Oh.
leave, you get out of there.
Yeah.
And that
You,
girl was a bitch and deserved it, and probably deserved a
yeah.
whole lot worse. So there's no point in sitting
You
around
don't
and going reflecting on what just happened.
you don't break someone's nose with your skate or with their skate. I think she was using someone else's skate, and then just sit there, sad about how you have no friends.
Hmm.
Just like and then your friends are around you being like, why'd you do that? Instead of telling you to fucking go, it's the '80s. They're never gonna catch you. They'll never know
Right.
it was you. Uh, but yeah, that felt just like that because there's try to remember, but I don't think there's any type of bullying that was that obvious in the other season. So I guess you had to bring that element somehow, but it just felt very forced. First you take her powers away, and then her personality turns into this loser that wants to impress her boyfriend by pretending to be something she's not, even though she's never done that before, and it just happened because she started getting bullied in California. So that felt just a little convoluted for adding that element of, hey, 11 fucking hurt someone. So is she good or is she bad again? And why?
Hmm.
Didn't really work for me.
I didn't mind the bullying aspect as much, especially since she had a weird upbringing. You know, it's kind of like a homeschool kid going to public school for the first time. So I don't know, but it did feel kind of like, well, we have to build something here because we don't know what we're going to do with Mike and company, and this is a big 11 heavy
Yep.
season. Uh, something I want to talk about too is the kills in this season seemed particularly grotesque compared
Yeah.
to some of the earlier seasons of Stranger Things. First, with the missing girl who shows up at Eddie's house to buy drugs, and then, this Vecna character kills people in a um, particularly brutal way. Where first,
Yeah.
the wrists and then the legs will be bent back, and then the eyes are gouged out. And you also get the little quick backstory nerd character who killed someone in a hit and run, and then he gets haunted
Yep.
Freddy Krueger style, just mocking him with that, dragging it out, and then killing him in a very similar fashion. I really enjoyed that aspect of the first couple of episodes where it's pretty dark, and some of the characters from that third season who were forgettable and emphasized for purposes probably other than storyline, I would say, fall to the wayside and aren't really a thing here, which is also great. But the problem is that it comes back to they don't really seem to know what they want to do with the characters that aren't 11 or even Hopper. For that reason, it seems like these are the two characters that we're going to follow this season, and everyone else is just everyone else.
Peripheral.
They're gonna eat up some time on the clock for us. I think you could have done more with Joe Carey's character with Steve,
Yeah.
and it seems like they're gonna reignite the romance with him and Nancy because obviously that's a way better couple than Creepface. But well, I don't know. And then you also have the Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman's child, lesbian,
Right.
who looks like Pippi Longstockings, uh,
Yeah.
just always thirsting after every female character that shows up.
Just being very autistic and loud and quirky.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it really feels like everyone else just was doing uh, peripheral things to have them occupied on something, but even the D&D club thing, they didn't really do a lot with that
Hmm.
other than this is how we introduce Eddie, right? And then how I guess the jocks will chase them down because hey, he was in that group or whatever. When the well Lucas's sister thing happened with the right at the I think it was the last episode where she's in that playground, and then a random guy sees her across the street, and then all of a sudden the jocks know she's there. It was like, is there only one black child in the whole town? And also, why are you telling someone there's a black child there? And how do they know that it's her? That was very weird to me. Uh, they're like, well, she was part of the Hellfire Club, so we have to go get her. It's like, how do you even know that it's her? And how do you even know that she's there? Because the guy that sees her is just this bearded bald guy crossing the
Hmm.
street with his dog, who we've never seen before, or at least I don't think. And then all of a sudden the jocks know, and they go and kind of, but not really affect their plans. but it was all gonna fail anyway. So
Also, when it comes to that central jock who's avenging his girlfriend's death, they really do their best to try and vilify him and make it seem like his whole cause is not as noble as it seems. But at no point was I like, this is a bad guy or this guy's crusade is wrong.
right.
You know, he's got kind of the not maybe a little bit of like a I'm Tom Cruise, a 1980 style to him. And Eddie had a very like I'm Robert Downey Jr. in 1980
Yeah.
flair to him as well, which I think was intentional in casting these two. But at no point did I think that there was something wrong with his vigilantism when nobody really seems to be giving a shit about that. That girl was just forgotten. People are like, yeah, but what about the town? The town's going to get swept. Yeah, but what about my girlfriend just died a miserable, brutal death? Oh, what? I'm a bad guy for thinking that the fucking last person she was with did this and trying to find that guy? Oh, I'm a villain? Yeah. So I didn't like
he
that.
only became a villain when he was possessed, right at the end.
Was he
'Cause I
possessed?
think I thought his eyes were like weird looking, like he had something. So I don't know if he was, but when he had the gun and all that, there was one shot that I remember clearly where he's maybe choking or beating Lucas up or something, and his eyes looked like greenish blue.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, okay, so Vecna figured it out. He's using him as a vessel to beat him up and like keep him from saving Max. At least that's what I thought. But then, because he became a cartoon of what he was in the other episodes, in this one with the gun and just not listening to anything, it's just like, if you move, I'm gonna fucking shoot you or whatever. And it's like, I mean, he was intense before, but like this, it feels like he just revved it up to 1,000 in this. So that's why I thought, all right, if he's possessed, that makes sense. But otherwise, yeah, he wasn't a maniac in before. He was hunting them down and trying to get to the what did you say his name was? Uh, um, Bu- Bubbles.
Bubba. Yes,
Yeah.
Bubba. That's right.
Bubba, because he was with Eddie, but yeah, I don't. I just that shit just didn't work for me at all.
Mm.
That whole side story of them. Especially because he saw his friend getting killed the same way in the lake, and he's like, "No, Eddie still did this because Satan." And he's like,
Well,
"What?"
here's what they do. They touch upon the whole Satanic Panic of the 1980s, right? And they take the very conventional, safe approach in dealing with that topic, which is that it was crazy Christians saw that this was happening in the black metal or whatever, and it's Ozzy's fault. It's Ozzy Osbourne's fault. Satan has risen and is corrupting the children and marijuana and all that. But
Yeah.
in reality, the preschool teachers are actually sick fucks and fucking small children and performing weird rituals. And then the kids are talking about that. And then we're going to find bones that are hidden under the school 40 years after this has all been debunked by the experts. The experts said, no, the children were lying. But we found actual ritualistic bones under the school 40 years later. So, no, the reality is some of that's true. Some of that is real. People don't like that narrative. If you go listen to the last podcast on the left, you'll hear the fun version of that, which is that, yep, Satan's just a fun tool to rile people up, and it is. He is. But at the same time, there's also sick fucks who like to put their penises in people and animals and things and kill, and that is a real thing that happens.
Yeah, once you find John Wayne Gacy's basement on your high school basement, it's kind of like maybe something did happen here.
I don't know.
Maybe.
What are you talking about? Pizzagate? Because he's a Democrat? Everybody knows famous Democrat John Wayne, famous notable gay Democrat John Wayne Gacy. Come on. Come on. This sounds wild. This sounds like a conspiracy talk. I don't like that. So, they take that approach with it, the very safe. Can you believe people believe this?
And can you believe that Dungeons and Dragons is a satanic game that makes people do things for Satan? Because that was the narrative of it, because they played Dungeons and Dragons. So, of course, Hellfire, that's Satanists. They're evil. They did this. He was able to lift my girlfriend into the air and break every bone in her body and then poke her eyes out.
I mean,
Even
but
though they're
in
like
his defense
13.
now, in his defense, you see that happen, and then you see it happen to your best friend. It makes sense. How else can you possibly explain that? Oh, gravity is breaking his bones and turning him blind right now. No, it must be the devil. I have a through line here that says he summoned the devil through Dungeons and Dragons, and now people are having their wrists and their ankles broken.
Yeah, he listens to Iron Maiden, so he's satanic.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So here's what I
That
learned.
still happens here, by the way. That's how I know I live in a third world country, because they still believe shit like that. People that are like over 40 are still into that. I remember a couple of years ago they banned like a Norwegian metal band from coming in because Satan. It's like our
Well,
fucking
they're the most hardcore. They're the ones who kill people and burn down churches. So I kind of understand that. Or at least that was the case 30 years ago. Maybe they should get Varg for Stranger Things season 5. That would be good.
The Last Temptation of Christ was banned in the country and not shown because they were going to show Jesus in a bad light. So we never got that movie here for that reason.
Can you
That's
get it
the thing.
now?
Not in theaters. I'm sure you can get the DVD or whatever. But
Like if you went
it was,
to Walmart or something, let's just assume
no.
they would be in stock of Last Temptation of
Well,
Christ.
yeah, but I was gonna say you can't get that in the States. That fucking movie hasn't been remastered.
You could go to
so.
a Barnes and Noble and get the good Criterion edition of Last Temptation of Christ now, but yeah, you're not getting that from a Target.
Not at Walmart. Yeah. Also, they don't sell DVDs in our stores, so well, that's a no.
Oh.
You have to go to like an electronics store to get that shit.
You got to go to Radio Shack to get the
Yeah.
latest.
We still have a radio channel.
That's horrible. Okay, Stranger Things season 4. Is there any ground with this season? I feel like we actually did a pretty efficient job of jumping around between the many different subplots. And this season in particular definitely has more to it than the last couple anyway. I don't know if they culminate to much. It seemed like they were maybe more, it wasn't so much like they were thinking we have to have more of this character. It was more like they were thinking, wouldn't it be fun to just hang out with these characters for this amount of time? Whereas I think in seasons 2 and 3 they were more concentrated on trying to meet certain quotas of, all right, well, we want a certain amount of Will, we want a certain amount of Mike, we want a certain amount of Lucas, a certain amount of
Bubbles.
What is this fucking kid's name? Dustin.
Name?
Dusty.
Yeah,
Dustin.
there you go.
There we go. Dustin Henderson. That's right. All right. And so on. You go down the list. Steve, Nancy, all of them. They wanted to make sure everyone was well covered there. Maybe there was a bit of that here, but it also just kind of seemed like, all right, well, we want people to have a sufficient amount of time. It's been a couple of years since we did one of these Stranger Things seasons. We want people to have a sufficient amount of time with these characters.
It really felt like when they separated into different groups, which was 3, the van, Russia, and what's the town called? Harrisburg?
Hawkins. Harrisburg,
Hawkins.
Pennsylvania.
There was always a main on those groups. So it was everyone else kind of there, and then one guy that was the one whose story actually was. So it didn't feel like they were including them as much into what was happening. They were just there. You have the Murray character who was just there to be quirky and funny, and you have the Russian guy that left with them who was also just there, and the pilot who also was there until the last episode, right? Didn't really do that much. He was just kind of playing them.
Correct.
And then you have the Winona Ryder who was there. And what did she do? She electrocuted one of those things so Hooper could get away. The whole season, that's all she did, and fight with him. And then won his dick really bad in that last episode, and it didn't happen. Then you have the van group. You have the Argyle character who's just there, which is fine. I don't think you need more from that character. I think he was in a good enough amount where he was likable enough and not to the point of being annoying. Like I feel like they were able to keep him controlled because he could become a very annoying character if they used him more, I think.
Hmm.
The brother was just there because that's what he's been the whole series, right? He's just there with his face looking miserable and his emo hair or emo-ish hair. Then you have Will, who's there, and he's gay, but he doesn't want people to know he's gay yet, but he's also just there. Who else is in that group? Oh, well, Mike, who's the one whose actual story is because he is Eleven's boyfriend. There's not really much of a story there, but he's the one that's kind of driving that, right?
Right.
And then on the main group, you have Lucas, who doesn't really do much until the last episode where he has that fight. You have Dustin, who's just friends with other people, because he's friends with Eddie in some episodes, and then on other episodes he's friends with the Harrington character. So he's always someone's friend. He doesn't really do anything by himself. He's always just there. Uh, uh, who am I missing? Nancy and the Hawk girl. They're there. They don't really do anything by themselves, but they buy a shotgun. Awesome, great. They're there. So it always felt like, yeah, we're separating them to maybe give them a little bit of more screen time because you couldn't give them enough screen time if they're all together. But then at the end of the day, you don't really do that much with them, so it just feels like, cool, they're there, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate as far as how the season unfolded with those characters. I don't know. We're speaking about it like it's been a failure of a season. Maybe it
No, no.
has been in terms of quality, but on the whole, I quite enjoyed all 9 episodes of the show. I thought it was again a welcome return for television series anyway, and it was an improvement. It was probably the best season since that first season, in my opinion, even if it was very uneven. You know, so I don't know. What would you rate this season of Stranger Things? Just we'll go by the letterbox sort of. 5 stars, 1 star.
I think, well, if we're gonna rate all of them, I think the first one is probably like a 4.5. The second one is a 2.5. Third one is 3, and this one feels like a 4 too, because it feels like even though we have all of these issues that we're talking about, I was still watching it. Like I was still waiting for the next episode, and I think they did a really good job at leaving cliffhangers at the end of every episode. So you were like, oh fuck, all right, I'll watch the next one. Uh, I don't like the fact that they stretched the last 2 episodes for so long. Just make 4 episodes. I don't need to sit there and watch 2.5 hours or something that's not going to give me a resolution. So that was kind of that bothered me, and the previous one also an hour and a half to set up the 2.5 hours episode where nothing is resolved. Just make them 4 episodes. I don't care if it's the most episodes you've had compared to the other seasons, but at least it wouldn't feel like like an epic that wasn't an epic.
Hmm.
Like sitting there for 2.5 hours. I want something at the end, and then the end was just like, hey, just wait for next season and something will happen. So that was something that I had an issue with. But I think quality wise, the special effects, like what you said about the Vecna character, I hate the name, but I think he looks creepy, and uh, practical effects continue to be superior to any VFX that you might have. So the fact that they took that choice, and the fact that the actor was okay with sitting there for 8 hours apparently every time they had to put that makeup on him, that's awesome. Like I love that commitment. That's great. And it was definitely an improvement from 3. So I think I'll give this like a 4 or 5. Maybe close to 4.5 on just the first watch, I think.
Well, I don't want to rate the first 3 seasons because my memory is spotty, and my memory, or rather my feelings about certain movies or shows, is bound to change upon revisiting.
Yeah.
I know I enjoyed season 1 of Stranger Things a great deal. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5 as far as TV shows go. Season 2 was a real. Ooh, that was a rough one, but I did finish it. I remember finishing season 2, and I could tell that season 3 had more going on, but I just couldn't be bothered to pay much attention to it. I just couldn't care about anything that was happening with the quirky Russian guy, or the introduction of Ethan Hawke's daughter, or any of these new characters that had come along, and I was just so whatever about it. So I'd have to go back and at least watch those last two seasons. This one I'd give a solid like 3.5 because it held my attention. I really enjoyed the vibe of those early episodes, especially in the fourth season. And the finale, while it was disappointing in that they didn't dispose of enough main characters or characters where it would be, the actions would be more of consequence. We lose the Brenner character. This is Matthew Modine. We lose Eddie. We lose the jock. So two characters that were introduced just this season, and then a guy who we thought was dead for 3 seasons. Great.
Yeah.
I could have done away with Max, but I'm going to hope that they just are using her to harvest Vecna in a new form that comes about 10 years on or something. I don't know. I'm curious about season 5. I hope it's next year because they're not getting any younger. Although maybe I guess that's the point of doing it in the 90s. It could be a couple years with everybody's schedules. They're doing another Kong versus Godzilla. So Millie Bobby Brown will probably be a little busy. Finn Wolfhard, his career was taken off for a second. Doesn't really seem like that might be happening now. Those hit movies are over.
Ghostbusters killed it, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, no. He's in Ghostbusters. They're doing another Ghostbusters. So, no, that actually didn't kill it. He's got another one lined up. Gaitlin, who plays Dustin. Gaitlin, I think his name is Mazzaro.
Gaitlin
Matarazzo. Yeah. Him and Joe Keery had like Pizza Hut commercials when Stranger Things was really big. Joe Keery, he's got to get some new roles. I like Joe Keery, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's fine. I was talking to my girlfriend about this because I was like, "Who do you think is the actor from this series that could have the longest career?" And we both agreed that it might be that kid, the Gayton kid, because he could just play
freak.
He could just become a character actor. He could just be the Jonah Hill character, where he just plays that weirdo that kind of looks weird, and that's him. And he could have like a long career as long as he doesn't try to be like a serious actor or like a handsome actor. Because
if he ever gets his mouth fixed, it's over for him. That's essentially it. Well, I actually think my thinking was I really didn't expect you to say that. I thought he was going to have the shortest career because it's very easy to get sick of that kind of guy. I think he'll be on Celebrity Big Brother in 3 years. That's my prediction for him. Because he's got...
What, 20?
He's got so limited of a venue because of that. And you know what? With somebody like him, I do see him taking, or trying to take anyway, a Jonah Hill-esque turn where you're going to see him, by the time he hits 30 or something, you're going to see him ripped and he'll look like Chris Pratt or Jason Momoa or something along these lines. I'm calling it right now because he's so fucked up looking at the moment.
You just have that face on top of a ripped body. That's such a weird image.
It'll be like the Jerry O'Connell thing. Jerry O'Connell was a fat little pudgy boy, and then he evolved into a very built guy. Now, unfortunately, the problem with Galen Matazzaro is not pudge. It's that his mouth and his face look ridiculous. So he's got to figure something out. Imagine him with veneers. Could you imagine if they gave that kid veneers for season 5? Or if he just got veneers and they all had to act like, all right, I guess we're just going to go shoot. Like, treat it like the Elliot Page thing. Like, yeah, now your character's a boy. Okay.
They kind of did that, right? When he has braces in this last season. Last season he didn't have teeth. And then season 2 he did have teeth. And I think it's only mentioned in passing. So you know what? I hope they give him veneers. That would make him, or he has like a little lisp because like a Spock lisp. That would be great. Well, he actually already has a lisp, I think.
He does. All right, so he's got an actual disorder here called CCD, which is a birth defect that affects the bones and teeth. And so the collarbones on a person with CCD get all fucked up, and they other symptoms may include prominent forehead, wide set of eyes, abnormal teeth, and a flat nose. So,
fetal alcohol syndrome?
Yeah, it sounds like it. But it also says symptoms vary among people. However, intelligence is typically not unaffected. or is unaffected rather. Excuse me. So he's not retarded, is what they're saying here. He looks retarded, but he's He's as smart as you or me, probably, which maybe not saying much. I think I could see him getting into that sort of role. He's a Broadway trained actor, and he's now part of the Broadway cast of Dear Evan Hansen. You know anything about that movie / play?
I don't know what that is.
I didn't know anything about it except that it looked horrible, and it frustrated me to even see it or have it enter my head at any point. But apparently, it's about a kid who fakes being friends with some kid at their high school who kills himself, and has to like put up this big facade for their family and their friends, the kid's family and friends, that he was a good friend of his the entire time. Which is like, wow, I did not get that from what I've seen of this musical. It seems way dark, very World's Greatest Dad.
Right. Yeah. The kid died by choke jerking.
Mm-hmm.
And then Robin Williams has to
act like he loved his son. His son was his deep thinger. He had such a developed relationship with him. Yeah. So that's what he's doing right now. He's got a role in Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway. All right. Last thing about Stranger Things season 4. What do you think about the very overused Kate Bush song, Running Up That Hill?
Oh my God.
Are you sick of it?
Damn. So sick of it. Especially because I listened to the actual song, and that sucks. Until that hook hits, it's so bad that I was like, what the fuck is this song? And then the hook that plays on every scene in that last episode seems like, I was like, oh, okay, so this is what the song is. As soon as that hook ends or the chorus ends, it goes back to being shit. So I was like, this is the song that you guys made #1 after like 40 years. Yeah, I was pretty done with it. I'm surprised that they were able to get like a Metallica song in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that's expensive.
What do they have? Master of Puppets?
Yeah, but yeah, that Kate Bush song, by the end, when Max was quote unquote dying or not, I was just like, oh my God, can this be like quiet, like no music? Because they just stretched it and they used it so much that yeah, I was pretty sick of it by the end of it.
Well, I didn't hate it. I kind of like the song, but it's all right. I think it is overused. I think it's kind of annoying at this point. And now all the radio stations here are playing it, and it's on every Spotify list. And
every Instagram or TikTok video that's out there is using that for no reason at all other than, hey, Stranger Things, unrelated.
I did that. How dare you, Haas? You're throwing shade at me. Yeah, I did that literally 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah, you did the video with the dog. Right.
Yes, which performed best somehow, I think, on YouTube. I started doing YouTube shorts, which, this is another thing that annoys me because they're the opposite length of what this video presumably is, which is 1920 by 1080. It's 1080 by 1920, and they don't distinguish these videos away from the rest of your feed. And so I typically dislike them. Actually, no, maybe the Reel did better than the. Yeah, I actually did better on Instagram. But I was on a fashion shoot. I was directing a fashion shoot, and I was just sitting around waiting, and a little dog came up and lifted his leg on a pole, and I just started shooting the dog in slow motion as he was relieving himself, and he did not have good balance. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to post that to Instagram. It's set to Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill. And that's what I did. Yes. Yeah. So that's it. All right. That's been Stranger Things Season 4. Looking forward to Stranger Things Season 5. Maybe we'll cover 3, 2, 1 at some point. Something that's a little interesting, a little tidbit here, is that Stranger Things was originally developed as a series called Montauk, which is not too far from where I'm at, Montauk. It's in, I believe, Long Island.
Jersey, isn't it? Oh.
No. Montauk is in, I'm fairly certain it's in New York. The Montauk Monster. This is the point in the show where I'd have you pull up a picture of the Montauk Monster. Have you ever seen the Montauk Monster?
No.
It looks like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Your bit rate is already pretty rough as it is. Yep. So Hans's computer got nuked. And we're just waiting for an upgrade, yeah. So he's on. This is why he's get the J Horror webcam for now. The Montauk Monster is just like a squirrel or a raccoon or a possum that was at a lab facility, and experimented on, and lost all its hair and washed up on the beach of Montauk, and people got out their cameras and lined up and looked at the Montauk monster. It was a big thing in like 2011 or 2012. People were talking about it left and right. So I guess we're going to do a series on that.
Devil.
Yeah, but this existed. It was just like a dead animal on the beach.
Just hairless blob animal. Right?
Yes, it's pretty spooky stuff. So that could have been a great series. They should do a series about all these internet cryptids, like the Montauk Monster and Brian Peppers. And I still want to do the Brian Peppers short film. Kyle Girardi wants to do the Brian Peppers short film with Edward Furlong as Brian Peppers. This is my idea. I'm going to trademark that. I don't think he'd accept, though. He seems to be very snobby now as far as roles.
I mean, you can get this kid from Stranger Things. He kind of looks like him, the brother.
Yes, he'd have to put on some weight, though. See, Edward Furlong has the weight and the mass and the life experience already. Maybe you could do both. Maybe you could have young Brian Peppers and old Brian Peppers. That could be really good. Then we can get Justin Wang as a producer. Maybe he'll chip in a couple more $1,000. That would be a good treat for all. All right. That's been movies for this week. What do we have anything to promote?
No.
Season 7 of movies. Season 7. What, the movie? Movie's not out yet.
No. They're already in Patreon, so can't really do that. When is the new trailer coming out for Master Lauder?
July 25th, which is 20 days from the point we're recording this episode. Hey, if you're listening to this and you're like, 20 days? What are you talking about? That trailer dropped like 3 weeks ago. It's because you're listening to the iTunes and Spotify feeds. And you should be on patreon.com/LowRes and sign up for the $5 tier so you get these when they come out. Because then otherwise, we're months away from that. You know, it's over. It already passed. It's not an exciting thing anymore. It's just, it is what it is. I'm not putting out daily episodes of movies. We do 2 a week. And if they were going to be lined up in time appropriate, you know, you're wondering why Elvis, the episode on Elvis came out a whole month after it was already released. Well, it's because you're not part of that tier. So go sign up for that tier, patreon.com/LowRes. Do that. You're going to get the video, you're going to get audio, and you're going to have a better time overall than listening to these. And our viewership is up. Not just the viewership, the listenership is certainly up. The listenership has had a nice groove upward in the past month and a half. So that has been fantastic to find out.
Do we have enough to get like a Manscaped promotion, like a Manscaped promo code so that I can get a free thing to shave my balls?
Yes, probably.
From Manscaped.
I think if we were to inquire with Manscaped, we could do that. We could absolutely do that. I think so.
Get Blue Chew again.
Blue Chew again. Blue Chew's over. Blue Chew is so done. There's like a whole pharmacy now online that caters to just like giving men free pills. Or not free pills, but like $15 for a prescription from some doctor. Some strange doctor who's a robot and says the same thing to everyone all the time when you say, yes, my penis does not work. I need a pill. And they'll say, all right, you are indeed a candidate for Blue Chew that we can give these to. Just send $15 in an envelope, and we'll give you the prescription. That's how that works. And it's just a robot, RoboDoc. Dr. Hans is on the line.
Yeah,
Doc.
Dr. Hans, my dick doesn't work. All right, well, do you suffer from anything? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Just here's.
Do you get headaches? Do you have high blood pressure? You say no and no. They probably do. I feel like I brought Blue Chew with me on that first shoot.
Oh yeah, you
Did I
gave
mention
me a
that?
couple.
Oh yeah. You took
pretty
them.
good.
Yeah. They turned out to be long expired, so that might have been the reason for your blood pressure spiking.
Maybe. Oh
maybe.
Fuck that and the vaccine and everything.
Yes.
Damn.
Hey, that's right. Yeah.
A life of sweat.
I think it was the constant vaccinations that you got that resulted in all these health problems. I don't know. Yeah. Well, listen again. Patreon.com/LowRes. Thank you guys for listening to this show. We are going to be back soon. I don't even know when we got lined up for shows. We'll figure it out. All right. Season 7, Episode 1. Thank you for listening.